Hey trainers, it's your boy Ryan Swag here. Just wanted to do a more precise and concise video on how to solo raid bosses. Now, I bet you're wondering, why solo raid bosses? Good question, glad I asked. First and foremost, soloing raid bosses in Pokemon Go liberates trainers from having to coordinate with other local players to maximize the rewards from their daily free raid passes. While the rewards you get from higher tier raid bosses have potential to be greater, the rewards from a soloed tier 3 raid boss are often just as good and can be obtained on your time. For example, on days that I have both classes and work, I only have a 1 hour window of time to really play Pokemon Go. On those days, I don't really have time to try to meet up with other players to take on a tier 5 raid boss. However, I am able to hit up nearly any tier 3 raid boss alone to collect my rewards. Additionally, Pokemon Go currently lacks any real great challenges or endgame content beyond collecting golden gym badges. Being able to solo all soloable tier 3 raid bosses or do low party size challenges on higher tier raid bosses gives more hardcore players something to work towards. Alright, Professor Swag, where do I begin? Start out by going to pokebattler.com/raids. Then select the raid boss you're interested in soloing. Word of caution, currently no tier 4 and above raid bosses are soloable. Additionally, the tier 3 raid boss Jolteon cannot be soloed, and Flareon is unreasonable to try to consistently solo. For those reasons, it's best to focus on Arcanine, Alakazam, Machamp, Gengar, and Vaporeon raids. Starting out, you'll notice that the moveset chosen for the raid boss is unknown. You can drag and drop down to the specific moveset you're interested in preparing for. For some raid bosses, optimal counters are contingent on the raid boss's moveset. For example, Alakazam with Confusion and Future Sight is best handled by Tyranitar, where Alakazam with Psycho Cut and Focus Blast is handled better by Mewtwo and Gengar. Vaporeon is an example of a raid boss with very consistent counters, and therefore may be more worthwhile preparing for since you know you'll be able to handle any and all Vaporeon with your Pokemon, not just a handful of them. Now you may notice that only one moveset is displayed for each of your Pokemon. Changing this tab here from grouped to single will allow you to see the performances for each moveset. Next to that tab, you'll notice that there is a sorting option for overall, power, time to win, and potion. In general, for the purpose of soloing raid bosses, you'll want to sort by power. The Pokemon with high power deal the highest percentage of damage to the raid boss's health before fainting. You'll still want to be mindful of the time to win part for each Pokemon card, because if your team isn't able to defeat the raid boss within 180 seconds, you'll time out. Overall is a combination of power and time, and potions is entirely erroneous for this type of challenge, and it's best ignored. You'll also notice that there are two default settings for the Pokemon you're using, set to no dodging and level 30. It's set to no dodging because dodging attacks, especially fast moves, in raids is relatively difficult because there is no flash alerting you to dodge. If you're confident that you can dodge the charge moves, or at least some of the charge moves, it could help your results. Dodge Special Pro is the recommended setting for this. Pro suggests that you'll use your charge move before the opponent uses theirs. In most situations, you'll want to use your charge moves right away, rather than wasting time and DPS trying to bait the raid boss's attack. Overall, it's probably best to stick with the realistic dodge setting, since reacting to charge moves is a lot more difficult in raids. I would like to point out that having your raid success be contingent on your ability to dodge charge moves may lead to some frustration. It is very difficult to dodge every single charge move, no matter how slow the charge move may be. Level 30 is selected as a general middle ground. Most players begin to have their progress as trainers plateau around here, and a lot of trainers tend to stop powering up their Pokemon here to save on dust. If you want to know how well a higher or lower level Pokemon performs, feel free to play with the level tool. Additionally, these Pokemon are all at perfect 15, 15, 15 IVs. If you want to know how well your personal Pokemon will perform in these raids, I suggest checking out the Pokebox feature in Pokebattler. Pokebox will allow you to manually upload data on your personal Pokemon and use them in raid simulations, rather than going back and forth with the level tool. Fair warning with Pokebox simulations though, Pokebattler currently holds higher quality Pokebox simulations hostage with their Patreon. You can work around this Patreon by comparing your Pokemon to the by level sort rather than the my Pokebox sort. I'm not paid by Pokebattler to say this, but if you're serious about raiding and use Pokebattler often, or just want to support Pokebattler itself, I say signing up for the Patreon is worth it. There are other rewards, but I'm not here to sell you Pokebattler's Patreon. Now, in general, you can make a team of 6 Pokemon that have deaths, the skull and crossbones here, less than 6, with a power greater than 100% and a time to win less than 180 seconds, and that'd be fine. If some members of your team might hold you back, or you'd rather not power up another Pokemon to 30 or higher if you don't need to, you can math out your team's specific performance. The power on each Pokemon's card is the percent of damage 6 iterations of the same Pokemon with the same level, the same moveset, and the same dodge strategy would deal to the raid boss. If you want to determine their individual performance, all you have to do is divide this number by 6. Here we can see that my Raikou, Black Dynamite, will deal roughly 22% damage to the raid boss Vaporeon before fainting. To determine the time to win of your individual Pokemon, you just have to multiply the time to win on the card by the percentage of damage the individual Pokemon deals to the raid boss. For Black Dynamite, it's suggested that he'll deal 22% damage to Vaporeon in about 33 seconds. Adding the powers up, if you cross 100% before your time to win exceeds 180 seconds, you're ready to clear that raid boss. Word of caution. Make sure you're using the dodge strategy you have Pokebattler set to. I have counseled too many players that should be able to solo raid bosses and couldn't because they were dodging too much, hurting their time. If the simulation says you can do it without dodging, then there's no reason to dodge, especially if you're nearing 180 seconds. Another word of caution is to try to exceed 100% and below probably 175 seconds. While the simulations are good, they still are just simulations. It's prudent to give yourself some room for error. Advanced tip. You can also save Stardust and Candy against some raid bosses by running from the fight partway through and healing your counters to jump back in with them, or by using a good time to win lower power Pokemon in waves through a second or third team. While these strategies can be effective, it's recommended that you math it out well beforehand and give yourself plenty of room for error on the time to win side of things. For quite a few raid bosses, it's a perfectly reasonable way to handle them. Just be smart about it. I hope this video has helped you. I hope this video has helped you gain the knowledge you need to solo most tier 3 raid bosses. These principles can be applied to figuring out low party clears. Just add your teammates' collective powers together and make sure your time to win is below 180 seconds, and you'll be fine. If you like this content and would like more of it, like, comment, and subscribe to SwagTips. Not only do I do videos on game mechanics, soloing, and direct comparisons of Pokemon in Pokemon Go, but I also do a live stream every Thursday at 7 p.m. CT on the Twitch channel SwagTips. where I cover various topics involving the Pokemon Go metagame. These streams are later uploaded to YouTube for all to see. Once again, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's hard to say goodbye.